Hiya, this is Toy Lei with Educator.com's Ajax jQuery course. Okay, so we're going to delve deeper into what Ajax really is. There's the three parts of Ajax. There's the A, the JA, and the X. The A stands for asynchronous, and JA stands for JavaScript, X stands for XML. All right, so what is asynchronicity other than the opposite of a police song? Asynchronicity, again, if you look at Wikipedia, allows the client to continue during process. All right, well, whatever. Mumbo jumbo. Let's give an example of what synchronous is and what asynchronicity is, and it'll make sense. All make sense to you. So I've set up a quick little example here. The three parts of Ajax. A synchronous. This is an example of a synchronous request. Hit me first. I've set up a little timer which counts up to 100,000,001, I think. I'm not really sure. Hit me after. All right, pretty obvious. Now, if I try to make this happen at the same time, it doesn't happen. However, when I do it asynchronously, awesome. But now, if you notice, these two will never be on the same page. This is already happening on the same page. That's number one. But look, I can do this all at the same time. If I probably should give it a higher count number because it's a little too fast for me. There you go. You saw it really blip across really quickly. But they were happening at the same time because they were asynchronous. So that's pretty cool. That means that while I'm doing something over here, I can be doing something over here. All right? All right. So that's part one. So part two, JavaScript. What is JavaScript? A prototype-based scripting. Okay, gobbledygook, I'm not going to read it. You can read it on your own. Once again, I've just put a big X through it because I don't like big words, gobbledygook. That means almost nothing to me when I'm trying to actually just understand what it means. It just means it is a scripting language. Okay? This is not to be confused with Java. JavaScript is a scripting language that is client-based, meaning it's browser-based. When you talk about PHP, it's server-based. All that stuff you write in PHP is all done in the back end in the server, doing its own little magic before sending it up to the browser to be displayed on the browser. Java is also a back-end language that is processed magically on a web server to be spit up to the browser to be displayed and rendered upon. However, JavaScript is not that. JavaScript is already in your browser. It comes loaded with Firefox, comes loaded with IE. It is part of the browser, and you're just using that to affect a change on the browser itself without having to go back to the server to do a simple calculation. Now, it's object-oriented, which is fantastic. I'm a big fan of using object-oriented programming concepts, because it is client-based, it is really fast. It is really fast. You don't have to spend time to go over the internet to some server where it might be sitting in China to get the electrons to come all the way, to do all this processing, to come all the way back here to spit on your screen. Now, of course, you want to do that if your database is in China. But the thing is, you don't have to do it. If you don't have to go back there to just do a 2 + 2 calculation, which any computer can do, like the one sitting on your desktop, you don't need a web server in some faraway land to do a 2 + 2 calculation. You might as well just do it on your own computer, right? That's why we use it. So an example of that, again, is using this to do that. I love this example. It totally works great. It is a great usage of JavaScript, and asynchronicity. Lastly, the XML and the DOM. Set of rules for encoding documents in machine-readable format. Once again, gobbledygook. What it really is what it comes down to is that when we are doing stuff like coding, HTML is an example of XML. HTML is a subset of XML. This is PHP. This is HTML. Now, as you recall, or you might not recall, in the introduction, I asked you guys to have a minimum requirement of a really great understanding of HTML. You cannot do this without your HTML. You cannot do this without an understanding of HTML. So I'm not going to go into the basics of HTML. I'm just going to assume that you know it already since you're here on this lesson. This looks just like XML notation, other than there in HTML it has very specific defaulted set notations such as H1 and div and all that other kind of stuff. And the reason why we need that is because when we do make calls from the client, means the browser, to a server, and we do have to query the server, that all that data comes back in XML format, because don't really know. Well, these days you can set it in different formats, but before you could only kind of just set it in the XML format. Then it would be easy to read. Okay? So that is the 3 parts of Ajax: the asynchronicity, the JavaScript, the XML, and the DOM. Please make sure you know what the DOM is, because we are going to manipulate the hell out of it. That's what Ajax does. It manipulates the hell out of the DOM. Don't worry if you don't know what it is. I will go over it in a future lesson. But I'm going to ask you to really be good with that. Okay? So this is Toy with educator.com. We are talking about Ajax and JavaScript and XML and all the goodies that are going to come down the line with this stuff. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next